Seasons change, and with the summer comes a heatwave of new animes to make us forget about how hot it is outside. Now let's look for something wholesome to cool off this weather.
お兄ちゃん、お前さんの濃いやつ注いでおくれよ。
今揺れたよな。
I think I need to turn on the AC. Returning animes are coming strong this season, with hard hitters of fantasy like Made in Abyss, the most unnecessary long name in Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? And of course, Daddy Bones himself in Overlord. Dropkick on My Devil comes back for a third season, proving that the community can collectively work to bring back an anime. Rent a Girlfriend brings back the best girl Chizuru and a horny on main Kazuya. Classroom of Elite came back with an overly complex game that even after 3 episodes I still don't understand. And Shadow's House brings back the mystery type of anime that we all love. But of course, the returning anime that we're all talking about is Mr. McRonald himself in The Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2. I mean, it only took us 9 years to go back from the second season, and Mao is ready to fight his greatest enemy yet, cockroaches. I'm happy to know that a fan favorite anime can get a new season after so many years, which gives us hopes to those no game no life fans. On another note, we have the remake of the beloved shoujo manga Tokyo Mew Mew. I have no idea who asked for it, but I'm all in on the hype. I don't know if this is nostalgia talking, but I miss this show so much. And was it just me, or did somebody else just ship Ichigo with the alien guy rather than his classmate? The story is fun and cute. The characters look awesome, aside from maybe Ichigo's hair being red rather than pink, but it still looks fine. And personally, I think it's just the perfect remake that we didn't know we needed. Moving on to the fantasy animes, we have the typical Isekai anime where the guy gets reincarnated with OP powers and you know he's a typical Japanese guy with long black hair. And of course, he has some really strong magic. But this is the important part. He can control monsters and his first monster is a blue slime. Okay, if you couldn't guess which anime I was talking about, it's because there are 2 animes with the exact same premise. My Isekai life, I gained a second character class and became the strongest sage in the world, has a higher quality on animation, but it is the typical plot of the loner guy fixing everything because he's OP. Oh, and he's a monster tamer, which is completely different from Black Summoner, who as the name suggests is a summoner. This one has a bit more of an interesting story on my opinion, but it still falls in the generic Isekai anime plot. Parallel World Fantasy tells the story of a medical researcher that after dying of overwork, gets reincarnated into a family of royal doctors, as the next heir. He soon discovers his abundant magic power and ability to see illnesses, and decides to help as much people as he can. I got to admit that the story looks interesting so far, and using his knowledge as a doctor and magic power to create compounds for medicine is an interesting concept, but I'm still cautious of the future as I've seen similar animes go to the wrong path after a good start. On the fantasy side, we have Smile of the Arsnotoria, which just looks to be a cute and comfy slice of life in which 5 students in a magical academy spends their time doing different activities and enjoying a cup of tea. Which reminds me, let me grab a cup of tea myself, just give me a second. Wait, what happened? Yeah, the story is looking like a standard slice of life, but we get to see a bit of a plot development looming in the shadows with a group of knights killing people and burning villages, but so far there is not much we know yet. But if you're looking for a romantic slice of life, The Maid I Hired Recently is Mysterious is a cute, fun story about a maid taking care of a young boy after he lost his parents and inherited a big mansion, as he tries to uncover her secrets, and she gets flustered every time he directly tells his feelings for her. This one is perfect to heal the soul. My only complaint is the world building. Are we in an Isekai, European or Japan world? Is this like 1960s or what is happening with the tram to travel through the city? He's eating bacon and eggs but cooks with chopsticks. Blonde hair but it's called Yuki. But if you don't look too much into that stuff, the story is overall enjoyable. Next is the sci-fi supernatural story of Engaged Kiss, in which a technologically advanced city infested with demons is protected by an agency that fights against those demons, with our main protagonist being a good-for-nothing young man that makes a pact with a beautiful and powerful demon that, of course, is in love with him. What else is there to say? The story looks fine, the animation is great, and the character designs of both demons and humans are good. And of course, who doesn't love a good gender every now and then? Now, imagine a world where everything is digital. The walls, the streets, even your pet are all colorful and bright. You go to the hyperspace to interact with your friends and share your videos and images on the social media as you win and spend the currency called love. But one day, your eye gets damaged and you get to see a different reality. People invisible to the system. Groups of people working as content moderators to delete anything you shouldn't see to keep you happy all the time. And a secret surrounding a mysterious event that drains all the love. Yuri Deco has a really interesting premise with a wacky art style and an interesting plot. I don't think it will reach its full potential, even though the topics it is trying to reach are interesting, because it is trying to do too much at the same time, and so far the story is trying to stay on the optimistic side rather than going for the different possibilities that a darker story could bring, but so far I'm enjoying it a lot. Now for the men of culture, we have some things to spice it up. First is My Stepmother Daughter is My Ex-Girlfriend, as it is your typical rom-com about a couple that split up and their parents ended up marrying each other, as they try to stay as professional as possible, but of course there are still some embers in the ashes of their relationship. With a typical rom-com story and just the right amount of ecchi, this one is an interesting story for rom-com lovers. Moving on the spice meter a few notches, we have Vermeil in Gold, in which a magic student summons a sexy succubus demon as his familiar. And of course you know that the only way for them to transfer magic is through kisses, and maybe something else. You know, sometimes the plot is not good enough to keep you engaged in the anime, so you need to bring some real plot to keep you entertained. So far I enjoyed the fighting scenes and the interactions between the characters. I just feel that if he has that much magic and she's that strong, staying in the academy doesn't make that much sense when they could be fighting in a bigger stage. And finally, get ready to reach the peak of spicy, with the one and only Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World, as our main protagonist gets deep into dungeons and mercilessly kills bandits in order to make enough money to buy sex slaves. Even though this is an extremely ecchi anime, the real plot doesn't stay far behind, with a main protagonist coping with the idea of killing people and using these different abilities to cheat his way into the world and create his own harem. This story is a must watch. I still think that they missed in a few things, like explaining how he came to this world or how his abilities work and the point system, which was explained in the light novels, but even then the story is still enjoyable. And of course, if you're waiting for the Mofu Mofu, episode 5 is your go-to, since this protagonist goes all the way with the girls. Now let's start this by saying I am not an idol anime fan, but when the anime focuses more on their shenanigans and interaction with their followers, rather than the singing or the efforts to make it to the big stage, that is when I personally enjoy an idol anime. And I think that is perfectly encompassed in The Phantom of the Idol, in which a guy that became an idol just for the money but has zero enthusiasm meets a ghost of an idol that tragically died before she could fulfill her dream, as she possesses him when on stage to increase his popularity. This show is a goldmine of comedy. Added with the fans that love both the unenergized and possessed persona, this idol anime has got my attention. I heard a lot of stories about RWBY, but I personally never saw the original animations made before. But I think this is impressive to have an American story come right out of the gate to become one of the best animes of the season. Not only because of its fantasy story, tailor-made to fit not only the Japanese but also the American audience. An amazing animation that showed how good can a fighting scene be when you put your all into it, and of course, cute waifus. No matter if you're here for the story, the animation of the girls, there is a little something for everyone in this newest adaptation of RWBY. Now talking about great quality in animation, Call of the Night is one of the few animes that you can call beautiful for many reasons. No matter if it's because of the art style, the still shots of the beautiful starry sky combined with the colorful city, or the compelling story of a boy that seemed to fit better when he's just strolling alone in the night rather than during the day with a group of people in school, this show is just breathtaking. I still remember that first introduction of Nesuna in a full black background just slowly showing her face, or the first moment when they start flying. These moments are what makes the anime so good to me. Coupled with the story of a guy who doesn't understand love trying to fall in love with a vampire, and we get a winner over here. I know Isekai animes have a really low lows, but when they do something good, the highs are the highest you can imagine. And there is no better example of this than Uncle from Another World.
言うか、なんか結構えぐいことを言おうとしてなかった。言ってないよ。
It is the perfect combination of comedy and internet culture, combined with the isekai genre that at this point we all know it's not going away.
おい、なんで W をたくさんつけるんだ。
An old and ugly dude wakes up from a 17-year coma and is picked up by his nephew, who after witnessing his magic, decides to turn him into a YouTuber.
食っていこうと心に決めた。とりあえず YouTube で動画を公開して6万ほど広告収入を得た。
With the perfect combination of comedy, secondhand embarrassment, and gaming and internet culture, there is no way this anime wasn't going to be a hit. And with that, we come to the conclusion of this video. Which has been your favorite anime of the season so far? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, see you guys next time.